Well, howdy, y'all. I was thinking that the difference in gamete production between males and females could explain hypergamy in human females. I base this thought on the generalized male preference for young women. Most men around the globe prefer youth and beauty in women, youth being the most heavily weighted factor. Now, I pondered why this was. That men would prefer younger females over older ones, in an evolutionary sense. Then the idea of freshness came to mind. But freshness of what? I asked. Fundamentally, the freshness of the eggs the female is carrying. Now, this would be important because unlike men's gametes, sperm, female gametes, eggs, form when they are still fetuses, and these egg haploid cells remain with the woman for the entirety of her life, usually. Thus, the effects of her life choices and experiences have on the conditions of her reproductive cells is pertinent and salient to the mate selection process. A man would desire a young woman over an older woman because the young woman is less likely to have experienced enough life to have done serious damage to her eggs. This tendency to be attracted to women that have not engaged in activities that damage the reproductive cells can also be seen in men's desire for virgins, among other things. Like men don't like slutty behavior, so to speak. So, since men desire women's youth because it indicates healthier reproductive cells, do women's desires for men that have status, wealth, and power indicate anything about their male sperm cells? And what does this have to do with hypergamy? The answers to these questions can be found when one thinks about the difference between male and female gamete production. Since women produce their gametes once in their lifetime, and men produce them continuously throughout their lifetime, mostly, we can begin to see why women prefer men with status, wealth, and power. Women prefer these traits universally, like men universally prefer the two traits of youth and beauty, because status, wealth, and power indicate the current state of the male, and thus the current state of his gametes, and his sperm's fitness to the current environment. And this leads to female hypergamy in Freefalt's law. Yes, a man's gametes are produced constantly. Thus, the life choices he makes literally affect meiotic process and also current and future mitotic processes via infections, radiation, food choice, etc., just environmental stuff. And thus, the offspring of the male and the female that he mates with. Status, wealth, and power can be used as proxy signals for the current condition of said man's sperm cells, and his current condition is all that really matters, evolutionarily speaking. How well are the man's genes currently adapted to the current environment he is now in? How well does he appear to be doing? These are the only things women care about when it comes to explaining hypergamy. Hypergamy is just finding a guy whose sperm cells appear to be in a better condition at the moment. Men can gain and lose status, wealth, and power very quickly, and rarely do people, in general, hold on to such things consistently throughout their life. So the only thing women concern themselves with is the current state of a man's sperm, and men concern themselves with the life history of the woman's ovaries. Thus, why men like young women. The shorter the life, the less history she will have, whereas a man's biological life history follows him around, but is of no relevance because his current condition, which includes his biological history, displays to females his current fitness relative to the current external environment. Oddly, men have to gamble on whether the woman's genes will be fit for future environments. Playing this gamble safe is probably what leads to women's regression to the mean in most variables, specifically intelligence, and thus humanity's general regression towards the mean on those variables, including intelligence. This would also explain why women all tend to go for and have the most kids with the very few males who are high in status, wealth, and power, like we see in the chimp data from Coltane's video. Because for the population to adapt well to the current environment, the species population, the male-female population, to the current environment, the mean of the population distribution, of the population bell curve, would need to be pulled toward the end that is most well adapted. And the best way to pull this population mean towards that current, most well-adapted gene set is to have those in the mean, the females, predominantly reproduce with the outliers, the males, the few currently well-adapted males, to the current environment. Ergo, female hypergamy and Breakfalt's law. This is why we see in the chimp data, half the chimps not having any children, the remaining vast minority having only 1, 2, or 3. But then, like, maybe 2 or 3 male chimps having, let's say, 4 to 6 kids, and the one alpha male chimp having 7. This is pulling, these are the outliers, those 2, 3 men at the very top, the most fit males, are pulling the female median, and thus the population median, towards the most currently well-adapted gene set. This explains female hypergamy and Breakfalt's law. Women are always looking up, and therefore they tend to huddle and group with very few men. Alright, well, I hope that was short enough, and I hope that improv at the very end there didn't confuse you too much. Thanks for tuning in, and you guys have a nice day, and always remember to go your own way. Yours truly, M.